Diepsloot residents angry over the high crime rates in their areas. They're blaming police for not doing their jobs, but officers are often the victims of crime as well. Those trying to help are also being targeted. The very sad news that former Diepsloot CPF chairman John Makola was shot while trying to attend to the business of a robbery. He lost his life in the line of duty, essentially. Well, let's discuss if and how authorities can get a handle on the crime problem from Professor Jacob Mofokeng. He is TUT's African Research Chair for Public Safety. Prof, good to have you with us. Always a pleasure to have you on ENCA as well. And you starting to see comments coming through on social media. And yes, I don't read everything on social media, but there's a certain percentage of people saying that they're surprised by what's happening. You ask the residents of Diepsloot and Diepkloof, they're not at all surprised this has been happening. They've been complaining for years.
Yes, good morning and good morning to the ENCA viewers. Indeed, for those that are outside Diepsloot, they are surprised for the turning of events. But the ones that are within Diepsloot, then it has been a pain, that they have to, live with on daily basis. And whenever the sun goes down, it will always be fear that will engulf, their areas. So there has been quite a number of reports in terms of residential robberies where, criminals, they do as they please. And whenever the communities will go to the police station, of which it is also under-resourced, it was established in 2016, and then the impact of the police station has not really been realized based on, it has been reported in the media that only 6 vehicles, and were, allocated to the station. But the communities of Diepsloot, really, they have come to a point where they feel that, they need to see the president, of which it never happened. Even in 2022, you are aware that they made such a call where, when the pastor as well as some of the congregants were injured and the pastor was killed because of robberies. If you look at the crime statistics from January until this far, when the provincial commissioner reported, from January to March, 20 people were killed, and then now since June, and 6 other additional people, including now the Mr. Makola that was also killed whilst attending, the case of robberies. So this is what is happening in Diepsloot, and you look at also at the environmental design of the place where, police officials as well as community members, they do indicate that it is difficult to patrol the areas based on how the, illegal structures, have been erected around this particular place. There are certain mechanisms where the communities have tried, in terms of erection of a particular, demarcations where they will close the area around 9 in the evening and open in the morning. But surprisingly, burglaries as well as other crimes are committed despite these other measures.
And I think this is why communities, Prof, are reacting the way that they are, because they are doing everything they can. As you say, they're following as many channels as are available to them. They're creating physical barriers. That's not working. I'm curious if you'd like to weigh in on whether you think, because you've raised 2 issues now for me, which I think are interesting. One is the president not arriving in the area. The other is the lack of police vehicles and boots on the ground. Do you think this is either a political solution or is this a policing solution, or can you not separate those two?
Well, you cannot separate the two because, whenever the president is addressing, the public, the, citizens of South Africa, you'll always promise that, he will capacitate, law enforcement. And what do we mean by capacitating of law enforcement? We are talking about training, the right decisions that should be, be realized by those that are appointed by the president. We see a lot of instability within, South African Police Service where, almost 5 to 6 police commissioners never, finish their term in office. And then you look at how, these people have been appointed, it should be someone who's very connected or somebody who has been his name or her name been mentioned to the president. You look at the rigorous, processes for those that are, low-ranking officials in terms of appointment, but the same is not, cannot be seen, with the senior management appointment. You look at, power mongering within, law enforcement within South African Police Service. You look at how those that are, have, capacitate themselves in terms of, acquiring further qualification, how they are being forced to leave the service. Then the question then is, if then so much research has been conducted in terms of what is going wrong within, South African Police Service, as well as why the police are not able to keep in touch with the communities, it's well documented. Yet those that are, where they think that they will promote professionalism in terms of, acquiring further qualification are being chased out of the, law enforcement agencies.
So basically what you're ending up with, Prof, is people who want to make a difference are being pushed out. Those who want to simply just get paid for doing nearly nothing are the ones staying in, which is why we have the state of the SAPS that we have it at the moment. It's a very clever way of looking at what the issue is on the ground in the police stations. Just in closing, Prof, briefly, if you wouldn't mind, do you get a sense that ahead of the elections next year, we're going to see a scaling up of protests like this? Are things going to get worse, essentially, before the elections next year?
Yes, if you look at around the country, there's an average of 24, service delivery matches, and then we are going to see that, the double of that particular, matches across the country. We are going to see more people, fighting for what is their rights, and then we are going to see more. And unfortunately, whenever there are service delivery matches, those that are in charge of the police, they talk about diversion of resources, but what will you do when people cannot really sleep during the night? We are going to see, unfortunately, we don't want to see cases of vigilantism, of which then, with the latest crime stats, you see that there is increase in vigilantism where community members are indicating that they are tired and then now they are taking law into their own hands. Unfortunately, there will be more marches, before 2024 national election.
Yeah, the sad part of this is we've heard from community members who are saying they wouldn't take the law into their own hands, Prof, if the law was doing what the law is supposed to do. You make a fantastic point. Always a great discussion. Professor Jacob Mofokeng joining us here from the African Research. He is the African Research Chair for the campus and School of Public Safety, also from TUT, joining us this morning. You agree